Chris Graham here for Trailblazer RV to take you through a new vehicle orientation on this 2020 Roadtrek Zion. We're going to start right here at the front of the motorhome. We've already released the hood with the hood release inside the door. I'll show you that when we get there. So to open the hood, just find the release right here in the center of the hood. Open that up and prop the hood open. Not a lot of things that you need to know about in here for all of your servicing and maintenance. You'll want to do that through a Chrysler dealer or Dodge dealer. For all of your RV related maintenance, obviously you'll do that through us. There are a few kind of key maintenance items here that I like to point out. First is your oil dipstick, labeled in yellow, located right here. So you can pull that out to check the oil level. If you do want to add oil, you can add it to the reservoir right next to that. You've also got your windshield wiper fluid top up located here, and engine coolant fuse block here. If you need to check for fuses, you'll find that here on the right side. And if you ever need to boost the engine battery on the Ram ProMaster chassis, the engine battery is actually located underneath the floorboards, so there's no battery under the hood here. If you need to boost it, you can locate the boost port. This is the positive boost port, so just open that up, hook the positive battery cable to there, and the negative battery cable to this little ground screw. Here or here, in fact. This is specifically for boosting. So positive to here, negative to here if you ever need to boost the vehicle. Or battery charge. You can put a battery charge on it that way as well. Moving around the side of the vehicle, here at the driver's side door, you've got the power step. So when you open the door, you'll want to wait for that power step to come all the way out before you step up into the vehicle. The hood release is here on the side to access the hood at the front like we just did. And a couple of things that you've got in here, you've got some seat adjustments here. So the seat is actually spring loaded. So when you're sitting in it, you can pull this to lower the front of the seat down, and the one behind it, same thing for the rear of the seat. So it uses the weight of the occupant to lower it down. You've also got your emergency brake handle there. So that's where you'll apply your emergency brake or park brake. And your seat swivel mechanism here in the front. So a little yellow handle to swivel that seat around. Also in this driver door jamb is where you'll fill your fresh water reservoir. And you do that by pulling this cap out of here, and you can fill the fresh water with a normal garden hose, or what we recommend is using one of those white non-toxic drinking water specific garden hoses. Then you don't get that plasticky garden hose taste in your water. Seems an odd place for the water fill, but it's nice being in the door jamb. It protects it from getting all gummed up with road debris, and it's also secure if you lock that door. Nobody's got access to tamper with that. The other thing inside this door jamb is your waste discharge pump switch. So when you're dumping your holding tanks, which we're going to show you in just a second, once you've got your hose into the ground, you'll have to press the button to activate your macerator pump. So that chops up the waste and pumps it out the hose. That's also located here just for convenience and security reasons. And then right here behind the driver's door is where you'll find your fuel filler. That's something that confuses people regularly. So if you get to the gas station and can't find it, that's where to look, right behind the driver door. Moving back, you've got a couple of vents here. This is for your furnace, and this for your on-demand hot water system. Both of these, when they're operating, get very hot. So if you've got young kids around the trailer or the motorhome, make sure they know not to go near those. With the hot water tank or the water on-demand system, you can actually open this up to access some serviceable components. But for the most part, if you were ever going to get in here, that would be something that we would do as the RV dealer. A couple of simple things in here, like a fuse and an on-off switch that you may want to check yourself. But aside from that, it's most likely something that we'll be looking after for you. There is a bypass kit on the back of this, just like a conventional hot water tank would have in a different style of motorhome. But for winterizing these, our recommendation is to actually run the antifreeze right through them. There's a coil in the back there that if it doesn't get properly drained, it takes very little water in there to freeze and actually do damage to it. So the best way to winterize these our recommendation anyway, is to go ahead and run the antifreeze through it and make sure you use the better minus 50-degree antifreeze that doesn't gel. Because even the gelling of the antifreeze can cause some expansion, which if it got cold enough could be troublesome. So make sure you use the good antifreeze and run it right through the unit. Or bring your van into us, get us to do your winterizing for you. Directly beneath that is where you'll find your sewer dumping. When you go to open this panel, it's a little bit tricky to open. It has a lip that you need to pull up, but it also has a magnet. So you need to pull up and out a little harder than you think you need to open that. And then this is where you can dump your black and gray holding tanks. And with the Zion, it uses the macerator pump. Your macerator hose is inside here, so you can open this up with the key on your key ring. It's a CH751 key on your key ring. Pull that hose out of there and put it into the ground. Then you can step back to the driver door of the vehicle and press the red waste discharge pump button to pump everything out. Or if you're staying at a site that has hookups, you can hook up a conventional RV sewer hose to here, and then you have two valves, your larger black valve and your smaller gray valve. In that instance, a lot of people would leave their gray valve open and just let the gray contents flow through. We still recommend leaving the black valve closed and just dumping the black holding tank periodically as it gets full. Also recommend using a good potent RV toilet chemical. I'll show you that when we get inside, how you'll add chemical. And actually, on the topic of the black tank gate valve, there's actually two gate valves for the black tank. So you have this one here. There's also a valve back here that you'll need to pull as well. Here on the back of the vehicle, you've got your outside shower. Pretty simple operation of that. It's got hot and cold taps. Shower head comes up to about this high. Your back doors of the vehicle are hyper-extending doors, so they can open up all the way around. Table storage is located right here in the back door, if you're looking for it. And then underneath here, just a little compartment kind of specifically sized to fit that 30 amp power cord. So when you go to attach the power cord, if you're staying at a site with power or if you're charging when you're parked at home, attach the power cord onto here. Other end obviously plugs into the wall. It's a 30 amp power cord, but we also supply the 15 amp park adapter to plug it into your normal household style of plug. Around the front Here, I'm just going to close these doors. Make sure when you close these doors that you close them in the right order. Left-hand door first, and then the right-hand door. On the camping side of the van, you've got your awning. It's a power awning. To operate that, there's a switch right on the control panel. So you can just press and hold once we turn on our power. You can just press and hold the out button to extend the awning. I don't think we have room to bring the awning all the way out, so I'm just going to stop it here and show you the rafters. So here inside the cross member are some support legs. These just hinge here. So fold these down and attach them to the cleats on the side of the vehicle, or you can attach them right into the ground and spike them into the ground. If you're just leaving the awning out a short distance like this, just to keep some moisture away from the door or something, it's fine to leave these in. But if you extend that awning all the way out, you'll want to use the support arms either here or in the ground. Bring it in, just press and hold the button. There we go. Underneath here, you've got access to your propane system. So you can this will need to be filled by a person who's qualified to fill propane tanks. Most service stations will have that person. They'll fill from here, but you've also got a propane level gauge on here, and you have a quick connect right over here. So if you have a low pressure barbecue or something that you use, you can hook up to the quick connect there. You'll need to turn this valve on before any propane will flow. And this needs to be specifically a low pressure item that doesn't have its own propane regulator. At the passenger seat, not a whole bunch to tell you here. Similar seat adjustments and seat swivel here in the front. As we move inside the vehicle, a couple of things that I'll show you. This power step has a lockout right inside the door. If you have a look here on the control panel, there's a switch that says power step off. In order to disengage that switch or that step, you have to turn this on, and now the power step is locked out. So as you open and close the door, that power step will stay out. The reason for the switch, the confusing switch, is there is a electrical override on that. If you start up the vehicle and put it in gear, the step will come in all by itself. For now, we'll leave that off. A couple more switches here to know about. If you are using water from your freshwater reservoir and not hooked up to water services, you can activate your water pump there. And you hear that pump come on to pressurize the system with water. Now you can just leave that switch on the whole time and pump water from your different fixtures. Right now, the vehicle's winterized, so it's actually pressurized with antifreeze. I'm not going to pump anything through. Got your patio light. That's your outside yard light, just outside the vehicle here. and your battery disconnect and inverter switches. So when we talk about the power system on a Roadtrek, there's 3 components to starting up the power system on your van. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down, and we'll go through how to start up the power system. It uses lithium modules for the 12-volt power. So the first thing you need to do is turn on one or both of your lithium modules. It takes a second for those blue lights to come on, and you'll hear a click as those modules activate. If you don't hear that click, or if this blue light doesn't come on, press and hold the reset button, and you'll need to hold that for 10 or 15 seconds sometimes for the lithium module to start itself back up. So now we've activated our lithium. Now we need to turn on our battery disconnect. So press the battery disconnect button to engage the batteries. And then most of the time you're using the vehicle, you'll use the inverter as well. If you are dry camping away from power, when you turn on the inverter, that'll use the lithium modules to power up your 110 volt applications, your power outlets, your microwave, your entertainment center, all of that, those 110 volt devices will run on your 12 volt lithium system. You also, though, need to have this inverter turned on to charge. If you're plugged into power, the inverter needs to be on to be charging the lithium. So as a general rule of thumb, most of the time that you're using the van, you're going to have the inverter on. You may choose, though, if you're not using any of the 110 volt applications and you're dry camping away from power, you may choose to leave the inverter off when you don't need it, just to conserve battery life. Your lithium modules will still charge via the solar panels without the inverter on. One more note on those lithium modules, there's 3 methods of charging those as well. Obviously, plugging into power, you'll need to have the inverter on. Solar power, as long as the lithium modules are turned on, they'll charge via solar power. And utilizing the high output engine generator, so basically running the vehicle. When you're running the vehicle and you have the lithium modules on, they'll charge from the engine generator, and that is actually the most effective way to charge the lithium. So if your lithium is ever low, you can start up your engine and charge that lithium up in half an hour to an hour. We'll bring it up to a good level of charge, maybe not 100%, but certainly into 60 to 80% of your lithium reserve capacity. You have also a volt start function, which I should have showed you this as we went around the side. There's a little switch on the side of the dash here. This is to engage your volt start. That uses the remote starting capability of the vehicle to start the engine and charge those lithium batteries when it senses that the lithium batteries are critically low. In order for that system to work, though, you have to have this switch on, park brake engaged, and use the vehicle's remote starter to start the vehicle once. Once you've done that, you've engaged the volt start system, and if you're leaving your air conditioning running or something like that, and it senses that you've depleted your lithium to a critical level, it will automatically start the vehicle and run for about 15 minutes. That'll bring the lithium up a good amount, and it'll do that 5 times, up to 5 times before the volt start disengages. For now, I'm going to leave that switched off. This flip-up counter extension here at the entry door is a very heavy-duty mechanism, but once you've got it flipped up, it's a little tricky to put down until you've done it a few times. There's release buttons here. So you'll have to kind of pull up on this, push the release buttons, and then you can fold it down. That's something that we struggle with at the dealership all the time with people at RV shows and stuff that fold those up. It's a very heavy duty mechanism, but it's kind of tricky to put down. So practice that a few times just so that you can teach it to people when they're visiting your Roadtrek. Stovetop uses propane, so you'll have to obviously make sure your propane bottle is turned on outside, and turn the switches over to light, and then you have, over to light. Hold in on that for a second while the flame sensor heats up, and then you can set it to whatever flame height you want. Obviously both burners work the same. Good idea when you have your propane bottle refilled. The first thing you should do after refilling that propane bottle is come in here and light both of these burners. The reason for that is this is the easiest way to bleed any air that might be in those propane lines off the system. So once you've got both of these burners lit, then you know that your automatic appliances like your furnace and hot water and stuff will have no problem starting up because you've bled all of the air off the lines. Microwave is pretty simple. It's just like the microwave in your home. Only runs on 110 volt power, so you need to have your inverter engaged to run that. Same with your entertainment system here at the back. This is just a dust cover on your TV. It just pulls off like so, and your Blu-ray disc player is both the TV and the Blu-ray player are plugged into 110 volt power. You need to have the inverter on to operate those. The rear bench seats fold flat into the main bed, and that is done with power switch here on the side. So just press and hold the switch to fold that down. This folds down to a good size single bed with still a space to walk between here. That's deliberate, so that if you are just a single person using the vehicle, it's a little easier to get around the bed. But there is a piece here that can just slide across and lay these cushions out to make it into a full king-like bed. Fold that back up for now. Over here beside that switch is where you'll find your thermostat. So this controls both the heating and cooling systems for the van. So if I turn that to the, there's two modes, furnace and cooling. And if I turn that to the furnace mode and crank us up to an uncomfortably warm temperature, you should hear that furnace kick in a second. There we go. So when the furnace kicks in, the fan is going to run for 10 or 15 seconds before the actual burner lights up, and you should hear the direct spark ignition when that happens. Just like so. So now the burner is lit up. In a few minutes we'll have, or in a few seconds, we'll have warm air blowing right from the front of the furnace here. Once it comes up to temperature, or you turn it off, the same thing is going to happen, only in reverse. That fan continues to run for 30 seconds to a minute, but that burner goes out immediately. So the burner's already off. The fan's just going to go through its cycle before it shuts down. For air conditioning, same thing. Set it to cool mode and set the temperature that you're comfortable with. Remember though that the air conditioner works on 110 volt power, so you'll have to have your inverter engaged, and you may or may not be plugged in order to operate the air conditioner, but the inverter has to be engaged. And to turn that off, I'm just going to turn your furnace back down to a reasonable temperature for you. And to turn that off, just press the mode button one more time. All of your cabinet catches in a Roadtrek are locking cabinet catches. So when you go to open those, press the button to unlock the cabinet and open it up. The doors should stay by themselves. Inside this cabinet, you've got an odd-looking electrical device. This is your solar charge controller. There's nothing you need to do here. This just monitors the solar output from the panels to the lithium. When you do close these for travel, it's a good idea to lock them. Then they can't pop open in travel, and you won't hear the rattling and stuff with your cabinets like you do in other classes of RV. And in your main coat closet here, that's where you'll find your table leg. Remember, the table itself is in the stowed in the rear door. This table leg can screw into the floor just like so, and the table sits on top of it. So the table can go here at the rear seating or in the front between the captain's chairs. Your fridge is 12-volt electric, so you do not have to have your inverter turned on for the fridge to operate, but you do have to have your lithium engaged and your battery disconnect turned on, and then just a simple switch to set the temperature here in the fridge. In the bathroom, there's a travel latch down at the bottom here. So when you're traveling, have this in the down position. That'll keep your doors from rattling. When you're using the vehicle, or when you're using the RV component, lift that up to release the doors to open. It's a wet bath, so this functions as both the bathroom and the shower. When you're using the shower, obviously make sure to have the shower curtain pulled around so you don't have water spilling out onto the floor. Anytime you are using the sewer system in an RV, you'll want to use a good potent toilet chemical. This is where you'll add that right into the toilet. The chemical comes in powder, liquid, or tablet form. Any of the three are fine. But what you'll want to make sure is whenever you add some chemical, that you put some water down with it. It takes water to activate that chemical so that it can break down the solid waste and the RV toilet paper. And we do recommend you use the specific RV toilet paper so that you don't have clogs in that termination system. So once you put the chemical in, push halfway down on the foot flush to fill the bowl with water. Obviously right now that's antifreeze. And then once you've got the bowl full of water and chemical, you can push the rest of the way down to dump the whole works down into the tank. Just a note with winterizing while we're here as well. If you plan to do your own winterizing, you need to run plumbing antifreeze through all of your water lines, including all of your faucets, shower, outside shower, and toilet. But run a little extra antifreeze down through the toilet and pump some out through that macerator system as well, so that you get RV antifreeze through the macerator system. I think for the most part that covers it. Hopefully you've learned something about the 2020 Roadtrek Zion. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us here at Trailblazer, or you can check our website, trailblazerrv.com. Thanks for watching.